Pins and Needles Kits, and we are here today to show you how to make the project from box number 20. And we are making the fold and stitch blooms by Poorhouse Quilts, and we have it sitting out right here. We're using the fragile fabric by Zen Chic for Moda, and it's a really fun project. You can use it as a wreath or a candle mat, just a cute little decoration, and it looks great in any fabric. So let's get started. Okay, so there's not a lot, but there's some prep work that you do before you start the project. So inside the pattern you've got hexagon templates. This one is for the applique and this one is for the actual shape. And so in the instructions it calls for either fusible fleece, or you can also use, Bozal has a product that's made specifically for this project. So it's a double-sided fusible, it's pre-cut, so you don't have to do any pre-cutting. If you're not using this and you're using fusible fleece, you need to trace the template, the pattern, onto another material so that you can then use that to cut out your shapes from your fusible fleece. So in the kit we sent you 10 of these shapes so that you can make your wreath. Next you have 3 different fabrics, and you need to decide which fabric you want to be the applique, the top, and the bottom. So it's all interchangeable. There's it takes about the same amount of fabric for all of them. So on my first wreath I did a little bit different, so I'm going to try a different arrangement this time. So this is going to be my top, this is going to be the back, and then the yellow is going to be my applique. So you're going to fusible web on the back of your applique fabric. You'll cut out the hexagon template, and then you're going to pull the paper off of your applique, like so. Alright? After you've decided what you want to use where, then you have cut these out into the size that the pattern calls for, and you would then fuse one of these hexagons onto the back fabric. Now this is double-sided fusible, so when you're ironing this on, you need to make sure that you protect your ironing board, because you're going to be pressing from this side, and this side is fusible. So you're either going to use a Teflon sheet, or you can actually use parchment paper that you have, you know, for your kitchen, for your baking or whatever, so that when you iron this on, and then that way this just peels right off of the Teflon sheet. Once you have this fused on the front piece, you want to fold this in half, and you're going to cut about a 1-inch cut this way, and then you're going to fold it the opposite way and make a 1-inch cut that way, because what you're going to do is you're going to sew this together and you're going to be turning the project through this hole. So I'm going to put this down on here, right sides together, and then we'll pin it or clip it just to kind of keep it together. Then I'm going to turn this over and sew it. Okay, so if you look at this, my foot has a little line right in the center of it, and so what I'm going to do is run that line right along the edge of that Bozal, and I'm going to sew right here on the blue right next to it. So I'm going to go all the way around it, not leaving an opening, and I'm going to use my machine with my needle in the down position so that as I sew, it's going to stop in the down position. That way when I get to the corner and stop, and then it's easy to turn it and continue on. So I'm going to sew all the way around this, and then I'll show you how to turn. So I've sewn all the way around right next to the Bozal. Next I'm going to trim this to a 1/4 of an inch all the way around, and then I usually clip my corners as well, so it makes it nice sharp corners. One thing I didn't tell you, so before you get started sewing, is she does recommend in the pattern that you shorten your stitch length to 2.0. So I'll trim all this and then I'll turn it. Okay, so once you have it turned, you're then going to make sure that all your corners are nice and sharp, pushed out. That's why I like to trim those corners on the inside, so that they turn out really nice and straight. Alright, so once I have that done, and you're thinking, what am I going to do with this big hole in the center? So that's going to get covered up by the applique. So next I'm going to get my iron and press that. I like cordless iron because it makes it easy to do my work without having a cord in the way. So because this is fusible, it's as I press it, it's fusing everything down, those cut edges. And I'm going to turn it over and press it again just to make sure. So I have this nice crisp hexagon Next, I'm going to take my applique and center it on my hexagon, on my petal, and then press that down. So I can use whatever stitch I would like. On my first one I did a blanket stitch. On this one I'm just going to do a quick zigzag. But if your machine has a needle position button, if you'll move your needle all the way to the right and then run your edge of your applique right along that toe of that foot, it gives you a nice guide so that you stay right on the applique and don't come off. And so the right swing of the needle would always be right to the edge of the applique. So that's just a quick little applique tip. When you get to the corner here, you're going to stop with your needle on the right swing and then you're going to pivot. So I stopped with my needle right on the corner there and it's in the down position, so I'm going to raise my presser foot and pivot, and then I will be exactly right where I need to be so that the next swing of the needle will be into the applique, and then I'll just continue all the way around like that. So when you get back to the beginning, so you've sewn all the way around it, if you don't want to like sew forward and backwards, because sometimes what that does is messes up the pattern, it doesn't look very good, but you still need to tie it off. A really great trick is to put it on your straight stitch and turn your stitch length all the way down to 0, and then what it does is it sews in place. And so you can take 3 or 4 stitches in place and it won't mess up your design, and it will also tie your fabric off, your stitch off for you. So see, once you do that, it's all tied off nice and neat. Next I'm going to lay this on top of my fabric and mark where I need to sew this together. Okay, so I've got these all marked, and you want to put a pin or a clip or something at the top of all of these so that you don't get confused as to which way everything goes together. So you're going to match up the tops, you're going to put the back sides together, and you are going to then stitch along this line. Make sure that you lengthen or shorten your stitch to about 2. So I'm just going to put this under my machine and sew down that line really quickly. Make sure you stitch reverse at the beginning and ending. So I've sewn them together, and then what I'm going to do now is I'm going to kind of finger press this open. Finger press this open. And then I can take my iron and press it really well. So that is the beginning of your wreath. Okay. Once you get the entire wreath sewn together, the next thing you're going to do is handwork, or I guess you could actually take and zigzag with your sewing machine right along the edges, but you want to sew this corner together here, and then you're going to measure all of them 1 inch from that corner down, and then you're going to sew, so you have this part sewn together, then you're going to meet up with the one next to it 1 inch apart and sew that together, and you do that all the way around. And then when you're finished, you have this great little wreath. Well, I hope you liked that project. We have lots more on our website, and we hope that you'll like and follow us on Facebook and Instagram and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks.